Chapter 6.
Experimental research.
What is an experimental research?
Experimental research is the most rigorous of all research methods and is arguably the best method for testing cause and effect relationships.
Before discussing experimental research methods, pass causality, a concept which is crucial to experimental research, will be considered.
The causality suggests that a single event, the cause, always leads to another single event, the effect. Anderson states causes and consequences concentrate on the relationships between phenomena, how one phenomenon affects another.
The conditions for causality. In attempting to confirm causality in a relationship, one must consider the so-called conditions or factors that may exist.
The conditions are: first, necessary condition is one that must occur if the phenomenon of which it is a cause is to occur. Sufficient condition is one that is always followed by the phenomenon which it causes. Contributory conditions increase the probability that a certain phenomenon will occur, but they do not make it certain. Contingent conditions is the conditions under which a given variable is a contributory cause. The another condition is the alternative condition, refer to the different forms that a given factor or variable may take and how the factor's influence is affected by its form.
Now, let's have the mechanism. This refers to the conditions that create the causal connection or the intervening variables.
Consideration of the mechanism helps us to understand how variation in the independent variable S results in variation in the dependent variable S.
Basis for inferring causal relationships.
One type of evidence for inferring a causal relationship is known as concomitant variation. A second basis for inferring a causal relationship between two variables relates to the time order of occurrence of the variables. The third basis for inferring a causal relationship is non-spuriousness, or evidence ruling out other factors as possible causes of the dependent variable.
Controlling the variables. If the subjects are not completely equivalent going into the experiment, the extraneous variables may be controlled statistically during the analysis stage.
Now, let's proceed to the external and the internal validity. Briefly defined, internal validity refers to the possibility that the conclusions drawn from experimental results may not accurately reflect what went on in the experiment itself.
Threats to internal validity.
1. History. 2. Maturation. 3. Testing. 4. Instrumentation. 5. Statistical regression. 6. Biases in differential selection of subjects for the comparison groups. 7. Experimental mortality, or the differential loss of subjects from the comparison group. 8. Interaction of selection and other sources of invalidity. Briefly defined, internal validity refers to the possibility that the conclusions drawn from experimental results may not accurately reflect what went on in the experiment itself.
Threats to external validity.
1. The reactive or interactive effect of testing. 2. The interaction effects of selection biases and the experimental variable. 3. The reactive effects of the experimental arrangements can prevent their searcher from being able to generalize about the effect of the experimental variable. 4. Multiple treatment interference may occur whenever more than only experimental treatment. Experimental designs.
Experimental research may be the method best equipped for such testing.
True experimental designs. 1. The pretest post-test control group design. 2. The Solomon 4 group design. 3. The post-test only control group design. 4. Factorial designs. Evaluating the experiment.
In evaluating the design and results of an experiment, there are several points that the researcher should consider. 1. The experiment should have the ability to test a null hypothesis. 2. The experiment should be sensitive
Pre-experimental designs. Pre-experimental designs, which will be considered first, are those designs which not only lack random assignment but which have few observation points as well.
Here are the example of pre-experimental designs. 1. The one-shot case study. 2. The one-group pretest post-test design. 3. The static group comparison.
Indeed, experimental research is generally considered to be the most rigorous of the basic research methods.
Experimental methods can be used to examine questions such as the effect of certain types of resources on the success of reference transactions.